There are moments in life when darkness tiptoes into your home uninvited. It doesn't knock on the door. It doesn't ask permission. It comes in through worry, through fear, through that lingering pain in your spirit. And in those moments, God whispers, cleanse your house, cleanse your mind, cleanse your soul. Because holiness is not just a Sunday morning performance, it is a lifestyle of light. And today I want to share with you 3 sacred places, 3 divine altars in your home, where the presence of holy water can bring peace, protection, and power. My beloved child of God, when I speak of the doorway, I am not merely speaking of the frame of wood or the turning of hinges. I am speaking of the passage between what is sacred and what is secular, between the noise of the outside world and the whisper of peace that lives within your walls. Every home has a heart, and that heart begins at its door. The doorway is a threshold of faith, a place where heaven greets earth, and where you, the keeper of the house, decide what enters and what must be turned away. There is a reason our elders, our grandmothers and their mothers before them, took care to pray at the door before opening it to the morning. They understood something holy that modern minds often forget, that the home is a temple and every temple must be guarded. When you stand before your doorway with holy water in hand, you are not performing superstition, you are performing declaration. You are telling the universe, the heavens, and even the hidden shadows, this house belongs to God. When the Israelites marked their doorposts with the blood of the Lamb, it was not because they feared the night, but because they trusted the promise. They believed that what was covered by God could not be touched by destruction, and you too must believe. When you sprinkle holy water on your doorway, you are not simply wetting wood, you are sealing a covenant. You are saying that no demon, no whisper of deceit, no spirit of heaviness will find a home here. You are building an invisible wall of light that darkness cannot cross. Think about how many energies pass through that threshold every day. Friends, neighbors, strangers, even delivery men who bring you a package but leave behind an unseen residue of their day. Their frustrations, their fears, their fatigue. The doorway absorbs it all. That is why you must anoint it. Holy water cleanses not just the visible dust, but the invisible debris of the spirit. It washes away what eyes cannot see, but souls can feel. There will be moments when you come home carrying your own storms. Anger from work, disappointment from a friend, fear of tomorrow. Before you cross that threshold, pause. Dip your fingers in holy water, touch the doorway. Whisper a prayer, Lord, let no bitterness enter with me. Let only love cross this line. In that simple act, you are not just protecting your house, you are protecting your peace. You are teaching your spirit to release the world before stepping into the sacred space of rest. Some people open their doors wide and wonder why confusion reigns inside. They allow every voice, every opinion, every vibration to enter unfiltered. But a wise soul knows that every open door must have discernment. Not everything that knocks deserves an answer. Not every presence that smiles brings light. There are smiles that hide storms, words that carry weapons. But when your door is anointed, the Holy Spirit stands as sentinel. He guards that threshold as surely as angels guarded Eden. The act of blessing your doorway is also an act of claiming authority. You are not a helpless wanderer in your own home. You are a gatekeeper chosen by God to maintain peace within your walls. An authority, when exercised with love and faith, shifts the atmosphere. Demons recognize authority. They flee from conviction. The devil is not frightened by rituals. He is terrified by faith. So when your hand rises to sprinkle holy water, let your heart rise in belief. Let your soul declare the light of God surrounds this home. The love of God enfolds it. The power of God protects it. The presence of God watches over it. Every time you anoint your doorway, imagine it glowing with divine light, a radiant gold unseen by human eyes but undeniable to the spirit. Picture angels taking their post beside it. Swords of fire gleaming. Imagine that every person who steps across that line feels peace, even if they do not understand why. Some will pause and say, "It feels calm here." and you will smile because you know that peace has a keeper, and his name is God. Now I must remind you, holiness begins not with a ritual but with a heart. The water you use is blessed, but it is your belief that activates its power. You could sprinkle every door in your city, but if your heart remains unyielding, the water is only water. But if your faith is alive, even a single drop becomes a flood of protection. God does not measure the amount of holy water. He measures the amount of trust in the one who wields it. Do not wait for trouble to knock before you bless your door. Make it a habit, a rhythm of your days. In the morning when you rise, sprinkle the doorway and say, Lord, let every blessing meant for this home find its way in. At night before you rest, touch it again and whisper, Lord, let every evil meant for this home be turned away. Day by day, drop by drop, faith will build a fortress. And remember, dear one, the doorway also represents your personal boundaries. You are the door to your own soul. What thoughts you allow in, what emotions you entertain, what voices you let dwell, these are your spiritual doorways. Guard them as carefully as your home's entrance. Let holy water remind you to purify not only your walls but your words, not only your space but your spirit. So the next time you stand before your door, holy water in hand, remember this. You are not performing a ritual. You are performing an affirmation of divine ownership. You are declaring, this place is holy ground. You are commanding light to dwell, peace to reign, and angels to abide. You are stepping into your role as both protector and prophet of your home. And when the storms of life rage, when the winds of fear howl outside your walls, your doorway will stand strong. It will stand not because of its hinges or its frame, but because faith has sealed it. No evil shall pass, no shadow shall stay. Only love shall live here. For the doorway of a faithful home is not just an entrance, it is a sermon. It speaks without words, saying to every force that dares to approach, the Lord lives here, proceed with reverence or not at all. And that, my dear, is how a simple doorway becomes a sacred boundary where heaven meets your home and blessings find their way in. My child, take a look at your hands. Hold them out before you. Look closely, not at the wrinkles or the scars, not at the tired lines that tell of labor and time, but at the story. These hands have fed you, clothed you, lifted you, healed you. They have carried the weight of your yesterdays and the promise of your tomorrows. There is more divinity in those two hands than you've ever been told. For in the beginning, when God formed man from the dust of the earth, he used his own hands. And when he blessed his children, he did so by touch. The hand, my dear, is not ordinary, it is sacred. When you dip those same hands into holy water, you are not merely performing a ritual, you are awakening purpose. You are saying to heaven, Lord, these are not weapons of harm, they are instruments of blessing. Holy water on your palms is more than a cleansing. It is a consecration. You are inviting the power of God to flow through you to transform every task you perform, from the mundane to the miraculous. These hands have held pain. They have clenched in anger, trembled in fear, reached for things that could not stay. But oh, how wonderful it is when those same hands are washed in grace. When you anoint them with holy water, every act becomes prayer, every gesture becomes ministry. When you greet another with a handshake, you are not merely exchanging courtesy, you are imparting peace. When you prepare food for your family, you are not simply cooking, you are blessing. When you comfort a child, lay hands on a friend, write a letter of hope, or lift your arms in worship, the holy water that once graced your palms whispers, this too is sacred. There is a divine connection between your hands and your heart. What your hands do, your heart echoes. So when you bless your hands, you bless your intentions. You remind yourself that what you do matters. You remind yourself that every seed you plant, every door you open, every tear you wipe is part of God's greater work. For these hands, your hands, are the visible extensions of an invisible God. You see, child, the devil knows the power of your hand. That is why he tries to tie them with fear. That is why he tries to stain them with guilt or keep them idle with despair. But when you take holy water and anoint your palms, you are declaring, "These hands belong to the Lord." You are reclaiming what the enemy tried to corrupt. You are cleansing what life tried to soil. You are saying, "No, my hands will not destroy. They will build, they will not wound, they will heal." Every morning before you step into the world, take that small bowl of holy water. Dip your fingers, rub your palms together. Close your eyes and whisper, "Lord, bless the work of my hands today." Watch how the ordinary transforms. Tasks that once felt heavy begin to feel purposeful. The things you touch begin to respond differently, because anointed hands carry authority. When you type on your computer, your words will carry grace. When you drive, peace will follow your path. When you serve, love will flow from you like a living stream. My grandmother used to say, "The hands of a praying woman can move mountains." And I believe that. For the Bible says, "Whatever you lay your hands on shall prosper." That is not a metaphor. It is a promise. But prosperity is not just wealth. It is well-being. When you bless your hands, you are setting in motion a divine order, one that causes everything you touch to align with God's will. Think about Jesus. He touched the blind and they saw. He touched the leper and he was cleansed. He broke bread with his hands and thousands were fed. Even as he hung upon the cross, his hands stretched wide were still blessing the world. Those nail-scarred hands turned pain into redemption. And when he rose, the same hands carried the marks of victory. So when you bless your hands with holy water, you are aligning yourself with the hands of the Savior. You are saying, "Use me, Lord, to heal, to give, to restore." Your hands can write the story of your faith. Let them lift others up instead of tearing them down. Let them sow seeds of kindness instead of bitterness. Let them embrace those who feel forgotten. Let them clap in worship and fold in prayer. And when you bless them with holy water, you remind your spirit that every motion can be a ministry, every action an offering. But remember, my dear, anointed hands cannot operate in anger. You cannot bless and curse with the same touch. Holy hands must be disciplined hands. You must learn to restrain them when tempted to strike, to open them when pride tells you to close them. The world will test your hands. People will misuse your kindness. Circumstances will challenge your patience. Yet the one who knows her hands are blessed will not grow weary in doing good. When you anoint your hands, you are not just preparing for the day, you are preparing for battle for life. My love is spiritual warfare dressed in daily living. Every handshake can be a bridge or a barrier. Every labor can be love or bitterness. Every offering of help can be light or shadow. Holy water gives you the power to choose light every time. Some may laugh at the thought of dipping hands in holy water. They will say, "It's just water." But you and I know better. Faith transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It was water that God used to cleanse the world in Noah's time. It was water that parted before Moses. It was water that Jesus walked upon. And it was water that became wine at a wedding. So never underestimate water blessed by prayer and faith anointed by love. So each time you wash your hands, remember to cleanse your soul as well. Each time you anoint your palms, remember that these are the tools of divine creation. These are the same hands that will hold your children, build your future, and carry your cross. Treat them with reverence. Use them with purpose. And when the day grows long and your strength begins to fade, lift those same hands to the heavens and say, "Lord, these hands are tired, but they are still yours." Feel His Spirit flow through your fingertips, reminding you that you are never working alone. Heaven moves with you. Angels walk beside you. Blessings follow the trail of your touch. So go forth, child of faith, with hands sanctified and strong. Let them become the instruments through which God plays His sweetest song. For when holy water meets human hands, the ordinary becomes divine, and your every act, your every touch, becomes a testament to the living God within you. My child, when the sun dips below the horizon and the day exhales its final sigh, the body seeks rest, but the soul yearns for peace. And it is in that sacred place, your bed, where heaven and earth meet in silence. For the bed is not just a piece of furniture, not just a resting place for weary bones. It is an altar, a sanctuary where your spirit surrenders its burdens to the Almighty. It is where the noise of the world fades and only truth, faith, and the whisper of God remain. Too often people lie down at night but do not truly rest. Their bodies recline, but their minds continue to wrestle. Worry lingers like a shadow, fear creeps in like a thief. The darkness outside their windows mirrors the unrest within their hearts. But the Lord did not design sleep to be torment. He called it rest, He called it renewal. He called it the gift given to those He loves. He gives sleep to His beloved, says the psalmist. Not nightmares, not anxiety, but holy restoration. That is why, before you lie down, you must prepare your bed as though preparing an altar. Take the holy water in your hand, not with haste, but with reverence, and sprinkle it gently upon your pillow. As each drop falls, speak a word of faith. Let every fear flee from this place. Let angels encamp around me. Let peace be my companion tonight. Because, my dear, that bed is where your soul travels, into dreams, into visions, into communion with God. And if the enemy can't reach you while you're awake, he will try when you sleep. But when holy water guards your rest, no darkness can disturb what God has declared sacred. The bed is also where the soul reveals itself most honestly. When the world is quiet and the masks are off, the real you, unguarded, unpolished, meets God. That's why the place where you sleep must be sanctified. Holy water purifies the unseen atmosphere, removing the residue of pain that days often leave behind. You might not see it, but every tear, every sigh, every unspoken fear has energy, and those energies linger in your space. When you sprinkle holy water upon your bed, you are cleansing not just the sheets, but the spirit that rests there. You are saying, Lord, let this be a dwelling of peace, not a den of worry. Let this be a cradle of blessing, not a corner of despair. There are nights, my love, when the world feels heavy. You may lie awake replaying words said and wounds received. The pillow beneath your head catches tears that no one else will ever see. But when you anoint that bed with holy water, you invite the presence of the Comforter Himself. You invite God to turn that bed of sorrow into an altar of healing. What once was soaked in pain becomes a place where grace rests its head. You may start the night crying, but when the dawn breaks you will rise renewed, not because the bed is magic, but because faith turned it into a sanctuary. There is deep symbolism in the act of lying down. To lie down is to surrender, to trust that while you sleep the world will not collapse. You are saying to God, I release control, I trust you to guard me through the night. That is why sleep is holy. And when you bless your bed with holy water, you are not merely preparing for sleep. You are entering into covenant. You are saying, God, I give you my unconscious hours. Rule even in my dreams. Speak to me in visions. Guard me from every shadow. Think of Jacob, who laid his head upon a stone and dreamed of a ladder reaching to heaven. Angels ascended and descended, and when he awoke he said, Surely the Lord was in this place and I knew it not. That same divine presence can fill your room when you prepare it with faith. For God is not limited to temples of stone. He dwells wherever His name is welcomed. And holy water is an invitation, a declaration that your resting place belongs to Him. Every drop you sprinkle upon your pillow says, Peace be still. Every prayer you whisper before closing your eyes is a lock on the door of your mind against the intruder called fear. And every morning you rise refreshed. It is a testimony that God watched over you while you slept. You didn't wake up because of the alarm clock. You woke because mercy nudged you and grace whispered, Rise, beloved, it's a new day. But I must tell you this, child. Your bed cannot hold peace if your heart holds bitterness. You can anoint the sheets, but if you lie down with unforgiveness, rest will flee from you. The holiest sleep comes to those who forgive before they close their eyes. So before you bless the bed, bless your heart. Release what hurt you, let it go. Let the holy water remind you that God has washed you clean, and so you must wash others of your resentment. Then, and only then, can the spirit rest. Holy water on your bed is also a declaration to the invisible world that your home is guarded. When demons come prowling, seeking a crack through which to crawl, they find none. They smell the faith, they see the light, and they turn away defeated. For a home anointed is a fortress, and a bed blessed is an altar of rest. When you wake in the morning, touch that same spot where you sprinkled the water and say, "Thank you, Lord, for another night kept safe." You will begin to notice a change, not just in your sleep, but in your spirit. You'll find that you rise lighter, calmer, more whole. That is what happens when you make the place of your rest a place of worship. My dear, holy water does not only cleanse the body, it renews the soul. It speaks of faith that is alive, faith that saturates every moment from your waking to your sleeping. When you treat your bed as sacred ground, you transform your nights into conversations with heaven. You will find that peace becomes your pillow, grace becomes your blanket, and angels become your watchmen. So tonight, when the day has ended and the lights grow dim, take that small bowl of holy water, walk to your bed, sprinkle it with care. Close your eyes and whisper, "God, let your peace dwell here. Let your spirit guard me through the night." Then lie down, not in fear, not in doubt, but in divine trust. For the same God who kept you through the storm will cradle you in the stillness. And when morning comes, you will rise, knowing that even in your sleep, you were surrounded by His presence. Because, my beloved, the bed is not just where you rest. It is where you remember that even in darkness, God is still watching. It is where you learn that true rest is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of the Almighty. And when your bed becomes an altar, you will never again lie down alone. My dear heart, the world is full of symbols, but only a few are sacred enough to touch both earth and heaven. Holy water is one of them. It is simple to the eye, clear, gentle, unassuming. Yet in the hands of faith it becomes a weapon, a healing balm, a bridge between the visible and the invisible. But let us make one thing clear: the power is not in the liquid. It is in the belief that stirs the hand that holds it. For faith, not ritual, moves the heart of God. Holy water without faith is just water, but when touched by the soul that truly believes, it carries the echo of divine authority. Faith transforms the ordinary. It was faith that made a shepherd boy defeat a giant with a stone. It was faith that parted the Red Sea and rolled away the stone from a tomb. So when you take that small bowl of holy water and dip your fingers into it, you are not depending on its physical form. You are depending on the power that flows from your belief. You are saying, "Lord, I trust that you can turn this act into a shield of protection, a vessel of blessing, a fountain of renewal." Too often people chase symbols and forget the source. They wear crosses but forget the Christ. They light candles but forget the fire of the Spirit. They use holy water but forget the holiness of heart. My child, never confuse the tool with the truth. The water is but a messenger. It carries what your faith commands. It is your heart that gives it meaning, your prayer that gives it wings, and your belief that gives it power. When you sprinkle holy water with faith, you are not performing a charm, you are releasing a declaration. You are saying to the unseen, "I am covered by the covenant of God." You are affirming that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. You are marking your territory with faith, not to impress heaven, but to remind the earth and every spirit that this place, this body, this heart belongs to the Almighty. There is something poetic about water. It cleanses. It refreshes. It nourishes life. In the same way, faith cleanses the mind, refreshes the soul, and nourishes the spirit. Holy water is but a mirror of that truth. It reminds us of the baptism that washed away our sins, the tears that cleansed our hearts, and the rain that renews the land. But without faith it becomes still, like a pool untouched by wind or spirit. Faith, my dear, is the breath that stirs the water. When you lift that water with trembling fingers and whisper a prayer, you are reenacting creation itself. For in the beginning the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. That same Spirit moves when you speak in faith. Every drop becomes a testimony that God still moves, still blesses, still protects those who believe. Holy water becomes holy not because of its source, but because of your surrender. And child, understand this truth: superstition is not faith. Superstition says, "If I do this, something magical will happen." Faith says, if I believe, God will move through this. Superstition is fear in disguise. It tries to manipulate the divine. But faith is love in action. It trusts, it reveres, it obeys. Holy water used with superstition is empty ritual. Holy water used with faith is a living prayer. Dr. Maya Angelou once said, "We are only as blind as we want to be, and oh, how many are blind to the power that lies within them. They look for miracles in objects, forgetting that the true miracle is already inside. You do not need the water to work. You need the faith to believe that God already has. The water only helps you remember. It calls your spirit to attention. It awakens the divine awareness that sometimes slumbers beneath your worries. When you take that water and touch your forehead, your heart, or your home, you are not invoking luck. You are invoking light. You are aligning your will with God's. You are saying, Lord, let this simple act be my sermon. Let this be my confession of faith. And the heavens, seeing the sincerity of your heart, respond not to the water but to the love that wields it. You see, the Almighty delights not in grand gestures but in pure hearts. The widow's 2 coins, the child's 5 loaves, the centurion's simple belief, these moved mountains in the eyes of heaven. Likewise, the smallest drop of holy water, when guided by faith, can silence storms and scatter shadows. Because it is never the size of the act that matters, it is the depth of belief behind it. So when you reach for holy water, do not do so out of habit. Do it out of hunger. Hunger for holiness. Hunger for peace. Hunger for a closer walk with your Creator. Let it remind you that you are washed clean, loved wholly, and guarded fiercely. Let it remind you that holiness is not an event, it is a lifestyle. You can sprinkle all the holy water in the world, but if your heart remains bitter, your words cruel, your mind restless, the blessing cannot stay. The outside must mirror the inside. Each drop of holy water should be a mirror reflecting your faith. When you anoint your doorway, let your home reflect hospitality and prayer. When you anoint your hands, let your actions reflect kindness. When you anoint your bed, let your dreams reflect trust and forgiveness. For the physical act means nothing without the spiritual transformation behind it. Faith turns the symbol into substance. When Jesus healed the blind man, he spat on the ground and made mud. Was there power in the mud? No. The power was in his faith, in his obedience to the Father. The mud was a medium, a reminder to the man that something sacred was taking place. So it is with holy water. It is the touch point between heaven's promise and your participation. My dear, holy water without holiness of heart is like rain on a stone. It touches but does not penetrate. But holy water applied with faith seeps deep into the soul, refreshing and reviving. And that is the lesson. The miracle is not in the element, it is in the encounter. So the next time you reach for the bottle, pause, breathe, remember, say, Lord, I do this not because I must, but because I trust. Not because the water is powerful, but because you are. And then with quiet confidence, use it not as a charm, but as a channel. You will feel the shift. The atmosphere will change. Peace will dwell where fear once lived. Blessings will bloom where doubt once lingered. Because wherever faith moves, heaven follows. And that, my beloved, is the truth that transforms a simple act into a sacred moment. Holy water is not powerful because of what it is powerful because of what it represents, the living, cleansing, unshakable faith that says, God is with me, God is within me, and no darkness can stand where his light abides. My child, let me tell you something holy. When you walk in faith, you don't have to chase blessings, for blessings will find you. You don't have to shout at demons, for they will flee at your quiet conviction. Faith is not noise, faith is knowing. It is the calm in your voice when the storm tries to speak louder than peace. It is the stillness in your heart when the world trembles with fear. Faith, my dear, is your declaration that you belong to the light, and where light resides, darkness cannot dwell. You see, there are people who spend their lives fighting shadows, forgetting that a single candle dispels them all. When your home, your mind, your soul are filled with faith, evil cannot rest there. It may visit, but it cannot stay. It may whisper, but it cannot win. The enemy thrives in fear, but he suffocates in faith. When your lips speak truth and your heart holds belief, he trembles, for he knows that no weapon can prosper against one who walks in divine confidence. Faith is not an armor made of steel. It is softer but stronger. It is invisible, yet impenetrable. It does not clank or shine in the sun, but it glows in the dark. Faith makes you unshakable, not because life stops shaking, but because you stop swaying. When you walk in faith, you do not deny the existence of pain. You simply refuse to let pain define your purpose. You acknowledge the storm, but you remember who controls the wind. Blessings are not coins tossed from heaven. They are the natural companions of faith. They follow faith the way rivers follow rain. When your heart is open, blessings recognize their home in you. When you live in alignment with the divine, not in perfection but in sincerity, goodness starts to find its way to your doorstep. Not because you begged for it, but because faith attracts what fear repels. Some people pray for miracles, but live in doubt. They sprinkle holy water, but speak words of despair. They bless their doorways, but open their mouths to curses. My dear, faith and fear cannot share the same roof. One will always evict the other. When you choose faith, blessings will not just visit, they will dwell. They will take root in your home, your health, your children, your peace. Let me tell you this, faith is not loud. It is steady. It does not boast, but it builds. Faith does not need to see to believe. It believes to see. It is not the trembling hand that wonders, will God do it? It is the steady heart that declares God already has. And when you stand in that kind of faith, your very presence becomes a sanctuary. People will walk into your home and say, "It feels different here." What they feel is faith. Quiet, constant, commanding. Dr. Maya Angelou once said, "Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. That light, my love, is faith. And when it burns bright, blessings are drawn to it like moths to flame." Faith makes you magnetic to mercy. It calls heaven's goodness into your life with silent authority. You won't need to chase favor. Favor will recognize your scent. Do not be surprised when the enemy tries harder as your faith grows stronger. He is threatened by believers who know their power. But remember this, demons cannot dwell in a heart filled with praise. Darkness cannot stand where gratitude is spoken. When you wake in the morning and say, "Thank you, Lord," you build a wall around your spirit that no arrow can pierce. Gratitude is the fragrance of faith, and blessings follow its trail. Some blessings come quietly, like peace after a long night. Others arrive loudly, like answered prayers that shake the heavens. But all blessings follow faith's footsteps. So do not lose heart when you don't see immediate results. Faith is not a transaction, it is a relationship. You don't believe to get, you believe to become. And as you become more aligned with God's will, blessings will naturally unfold. You are not meant to chase. You are meant to attract. You are not meant to beg. You are meant to believe. The one who trusts in God's timing walks lighter. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to stand still and know that He is God. The very act of believing turns the atmosphere of your life into holy ground. Faith also cleanses. It removes bitterness, fear, envy, and doubt, all those weeds that choke the roots of your blessings. Once faith takes root, joy blossoms where sorrow once lived. Strength rises where weakness tried to rule. The more you nurture faith, the more your life blooms with divine evidence. And when I say blessings, child, I do not mean only wealth or success. Blessings are far richer than that. A peaceful heart, that's a blessing. A forgiving spirit, that's a blessing. A home filled with laughter, a night of restful sleep, a morning with no fear, those are blessings. Sometimes God hides the most precious gifts in ordinary moments, so that only faith-filled eyes can see them. Faith does not promise an easy road, it promises a guided one. You will still walk through valleys, but you will not be alone. You will still face giants, but your stones will find their mark. You will still feel pain, but pain will become your teacher and not your master. For every trial endured in faith plants the seed of a greater testimony. So when I say that blessings and protection follow those who walk in faith, I do not mean that faith keeps trouble away. It keeps you strong enough to walk through it. Faith does not silence the storm. It teaches you how to sleep through it. Faith does not stop the fire. It walks with you inside it so that not even smoke clings to your clothes when you come out. Every morning stand in your doorway and say, I walk in faith today. Every evening anoint your hands and whisper, I worked in faith today. And before you rest, sprinkle your bed and pray, I will sleep in faith tonight. Let faith cover every part of your life, and you will find that blessings come not because you asked louder, but because you believed deeper. And when those blessings arrive, when peace fills your home and joy becomes your song, remember to give glory where it belongs. Faith is not a performance to impress God. It is a relationship to honor Him. Let your life speak gratitude. Let your actions reflect belief. Let your love be the loudest sermon you preach. Because in the end, my child, faith is not about what you receive, it is about who you become. You become unbreakable, unshakable, untouchable by fear. You become the kind of soul that shines even in darkness, the kind of heart that demons cannot enter and blessings cannot resist. And when you live like that, walking in faith, breathing in faith, resting in faith, you will see that the promise was true all along. Where faith dwells, blessings follow, and no darkness dares to stay.